with you, standing in front of the Larry O'Brien Trophy, which is the thing that the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to be trying to chase here in a couple weeks after clinching home court advantage, the number one seed in the Eastern Conference tonight with their win over the Chicago Bulls. They get the job done finally, and they'll be right in line to try to win one of these here in a couple weeks, like I said. So, certainly a good amount of things to talk about from this one. The standings is part of that conversation, but I think first and foremost, Spence, like I appreciate the fact that Kenny Atkinson continues throughout this season that's had so many memorable moments to have his guys sort of reflect and take some time to celebrate it. And there was a video that went around of him kind of like running through the locker room, high-fiving guys. I think it's a cool thing because I understand like in lost in the minutia of any NBA season is like all these ideas and conversations about, well, the regular season doesn't matter and 60 wins doesn't matter and number one seed doesn't matter. And that could be true in terms of like the big picture is making a deep playoff run, improving yourself on that stage. But from a fan perspective, like this is something that should be enjoyed. It should be something that's fun. And so to see the team at least get a chance to like take even a night just to enjoy it, I think is a cool.
Celebrate the small victories, and Kenny even said that he was going to sit back and pop open some burgundy and do whatever at home and just think about it and feel like he even admitted too during this game that he was going through playoff matchups in his head as this game was going on. And I think that's awesome to hear that kind of honesty coming from someone like Kenny. And a great content on our YouTube channel from all the guys, really. Jared Allen, Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, Ty Jerome, all addressing it tonight. We'll obviously hear from Donovan Mitchell next week as he continues to heal up from that ankle injury that has been described as mild, by the way. So that's a good thing. But I feel like just tonight, knowing that you have a day to kind of reflect on 63 wins, the first time that the Cavs have clinched a one seed in the Eastern Conference since the 2015-2016 season. We know what happened then. Not going to go there right now. We're going to go there probably a little bit more on the podcast, but big stuff from them. And, it was not an easy game tonight. Kenny even came in a little bit exasperated. He's like, my God, even that one wasn't easy today. And it's just kind
Against
of been
the Bulls backups, mind you.
Yeah, backups. And I mean, there were times throughout this game where they were not focused when they had a bigger lead, but they just kept throwing punches. They made 25 threes tonight. They had 100 field goal attempts. Darius Garland went off for 28 points in 29 minutes. And, he had Ty Jerome and Evan Mobley really setting the tone in the first quarter in the first half. And they did a really solid job too. So we know the talent on this team.
Yeah.
We know that they are capable of a ton coming out in this playoffs, and I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And having that home court would be huge, especially if you get to a series against the Celtics and if it were to go 7 games. So a chance to kind of reflect on that. And to your point, Spin, like, you bring up the LeBron years where this happened, the year they won the championship. The only other 2 times it happened were with LeBron. And we always talk about getting out from a LeBron shadow. But still, like the fact that it's something that's only happened 4 times in franchise history, 63 wins, second most all time, like, these are things that, in the grand scheme of things, no, like it's not winning the championship, but there are parts of that puzzle, and I know the Cavaliers have more in mind. You mentioned just how this game kind of unfolded tonight. Little lackadaisical at times in the third quarter, which has been a theme this season, something that I guess you could look at and say still a little bit concerning. But the way they finished strong in that fourth quarter, and I also thought too, like the way Darius Garland came alive in the second half was massively impressive and important for this team. I'm actually working on a piece over at Cleveland Cavaliers and SI that was mapping out Darius Garland's shooting struggles since February 1st and throughout since the All-Star break as well. And it still is a piece that it's still timely. Like it still makes sense to put it up, and I will have that going up for you tomorrow. But I think what's interesting is like now we have the context of Darius giving you a good game. And so this is kind of, I think, the goal for him down the stretch of the season because his numbers have not been very good from a shooting perspective. He dropped like 10 percentage points on like 2-point field goals, 3-point field goals. His true shooting percentage dropped a massive amount. We talked to Mikey, our good buddy from over at the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, about his floater game that had kind of gone away. And so tonight for him to come out and drop 28, do it on 10 of 17 from the floor, knock down 6 of his 10 3-pointers, I think is a step in the right direction for him getting back on track. And maybe just in the nick of time because they need the Darius Garland from earlier this season in the postseason to sort of come back to life.
using DG's own words, he was BSing these last few games. And I think that him getting downhill is really what gets you going. And that's what opens up the spray outs to the shooters in the corners. You saw Dean Wade hit 3 tonight. Sam Merrill hit quite a few. Couple of spot ups for DeAndre Hunter. He had a really good game tonight too, by the way.
Yeah.
Lot of plays drawn up for DeAndre Hunter to get him going, and really try to get his downhill game going as well. But DG was good tonight as far as the turnovers were concerned, and that's where Kenny Atkinson really pointed out pregame. He wanted Darius to get back to himself by taking care of the basketball, not compounding mistakes, and by getting his swagger back. And that always starts, I think, inside out for him, turning the corner, getting that floater going, and also opening up the 3-point game. And like you said, he hit 6 of them. He got off to a really, good start in the second quarter, and then it came around in the fourth when he came back in, because the Cavs ran out a lineup today that I loved that I kind of wanted to get to.
You said it's your favorite lineup.
Yeah.
Kind of an obscure one, but still is your favorite.
I liked it. It was Ty Jerome, Sam Merrill, Dean Wade, DeAndre Hunter, Evan Mobley. And I thought that there was quite a bit of spacing in that lineup. I think there was a lot of havoc in that lineup off the ball. I think defensively that gives you a lot of different options as far as switching goes. And I think that it also gives you plenty of time to allow a Darius Garland or Donovan Mitchell to rest, because you have a ball handler in Ty Jerome who is very poised. He organizes the floor, and dang, he can score the ball.
Yeah.
A lot of those are, when we're talking about floaters, you want to talk about Ty Jerome making them at every single angle, off of a left foot, off of a right foot, contested, non-contested, wherever it is. If he's in the paint, he's going to make the shot. It's pretty insane how well he does that this year. And he's also pulling up from 3 and doing that thing.
Yeah.
And he's setting up teammates in the pocket, drawing attention and opening things up for his teammates. So that's been huge for Ty Jerome to get his swagger back too.
Thought we saw some really good 2-man game with Ty Jerome and Evan Mobley tonight. Mobley obviously finished with the 28 points. He had 5 assists, and he had he had 7 assists and 11 rebounds. He had the 21 points. 28 was obviously Garland. Ty Jerome off the bench had the 18 points. Another solid performance for him off the bench. We were talking about after the game, him in the running for the 6th man of the year because of his performance this season, obviously. And listen, I think it was interesting. I asked Ty after the game about just, he had the knee injury, comes back, and there's a chance for him to sort of get himself in rhythm here going into the playoffs. All the guys kind of talked about this a little bit, like how they'll use that extra week to kind of get themselves ready. But we know health is the most important thing. But certainly good to see guys like Darius get back on track. Ty Jerome, after the knee injury, sort of get himself in rhythm and not miss a beat. And him and Evan just kind of playing off each other on a night where you didn't have Donovan Mitchell, I think was all very encouraging.
Most definitely. You want them to be in tip-top shape physically, but you also want them to have their game. Yeah. And that's really important, especially we don't know what it's going to be like the next few games, and we're going to get into that on our podcast, Courtside with Cavs on SI, probably tomorrow, talking about the rest versus rust conversation and how that has to do with Donovan Mitchell, but also the rest of the team on how they're going to manage these minutes, because now these games don't really matter anymore. You have the number 1 seed in the East, and I don't think you're getting the top overall seed in the NBA because you kind of blew that opportunity against the Sacramento Kings
and
on
the
Sunday.
The Thunder won tonight. I think there's still a path where if they lose out and the Cavs win out, you could win a tiebreaker. We were trying to debate. We were trying to figure out what the tiebreaker actually is. I'm not going to try to explain it and say I know, because I don't. I'm still going to have to do some digging on this. But I do think it's interesting that, it's not that I think it's interesting, because Kenny, I think, talked about, he said the line after the game of we got to take care of ourselves. We got to think about what we can control, and what they can control is let's keep everybody healthy. I don't think they're worried. They have enough confidence as a team that if they have to go on the road in the finals, it's very big picture. I don't know. I don't think it's worth them sort of chasing that. I don't think they're going to chase it. I think they are going to get guys off their feet, with the exception of Jared Allen, who's trying to play all 82 games. So he'll get a chance to still sort of stick it out and play at least some of these last couple games. But it'll be interesting to see how Kenny sort of manages that, because we know health is the most important thing now at this point for the team. Now that they have the 1 seed in the East locked up, and and especially given the last couple of years, somebody like Jared has missed large chunks of the last 2 postseasons because of injury.
Yeah, I mean, he's not on the team anymore, but Karis LeVert had wear and tear going into the playoffs and stuff like that too. So those kind of those soft tissue injuries that we're accustomed to seeing hurt the Cavs, they're not going into the postseason the best physically. That's not the case this year. And the only really one that you're looking at is Donovan Mitchell. And luckily, it's a mild ankle sprain, as they have kind of described it. So I feel like with Donovan, at the very least, that's the only thing you have to really worry about. And the rest of the guys, they're going to be in tip-top shape. The bad part is that they're going to not have played a legitimate game for
for
7 to 10 days or however long they're going to.
Well, and like you said, we'll talk about this on the podcast more tomorrow, just like the rust versus rest thing.
Yeah.
But how they utilize those days off, and I've talked already about practicing for the first time consistently in a while. Like how they utilize those days to kind of get themselves in rhythm and stay in rhythm and all those things is going to be fascinating. Kenny has some experience with that from his time out in Golden State, seeing how Steve Kerr probably dealt with that with the Warriors. So I'm sure, they'll get a chance to sort of try some things. But that is, I think, the next big challenge for this team at this point is you have the 1 seed locked up, and keep talking about how there's bigger goals than just accomplishing what you've accomplished so far, but staying focused throughout that time off and making sure that you come out ready to go for a game 1 of the first round is going to be pivotal. And we don't know yet who the Cavs are obviously going to play. A lot of different iterations of how that play-in tournament could go. And there are still some things being sorted out in the Eastern Conference. I think like right now the Knicks need a win to clinch the 3 seed. The Bucks right now are the 5 seed. The Pacers are the 4 seed. I think the Pacers are like a win away from clinching the 4 spot. The Bucks are a couple wins away from clinching the 5. They still play Detroit, who's 6 2 times, and so that could sort of change. And then you get to the play-in teams with 7, 8, 9, 10. And right now, I guess if the playoffs started, the Hawks would be in that 8 spot, which I know is a matchup that Cavs fans are going to hear and be like, oh no, because the Hawks have given the Cavs some trouble. Obviously, that was pre-DeAndre Hunter being on this team. And it would be sort of fun to see like a George Niang, Karis LeVert revenge series in the first round. I wouldn't be overly worried about that matchup, but there's a number of teams right now that they could obviously be facing in that first round. And we got to sort of wait and see how that all plays out here over this week and obviously next week.
And it could be the non-skeleton version of the team that they played tonight. Chicago's been really hot because of Josh Giddey and Kobe White. They've been playing amazing basketball in the backcourt, pushing the pace and really scoring. So I feel like that, and then you have the Miami Heat, who obviously can give you problems in the playoffs with their 2-3 zone and can slow the game down and really make you work for stuff. So they play each other on Wednesday. That's a pivotal matchup between the 9 and the 10 seed at the current standing right now. And I feel like that could play into a part with who gets the loser of that probable Magic and Hawks game.
Yeah. Like we both alluded to, I think different iterations of how this could go. You could see this team again, Hawks, Orlando, the Heat. There's a number of teams involved, and we just got to kind of see how the next week or so unfolds. But the big news from tonight, of course, is that no more worrying. I know Kenny sort of joked about like when they lost on Sunday, you go into coach mode and you start thinking about like, what if we lose to the Pacers later this week? Like, what if we don't clinch tonight? Then we got 3 games left and a lot of pressure on us, especially with the Celtics winning again tonight against the Knicks in overtime. Like there would have been some added pressure there, but they got the job done. They're the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. And as we said, the last time that was the case, the Cavaliers brought home one of these bad boys. So we'll see if they can do it again in the months that await. But obviously a celebratory moment for you as Cavaliers fans and, of course, the Cavaliers as a team this year.
I just wanted to say one thing. If you look at the YouTube channel, Darius Garland and Evan Mobley, the Defensive Player of the Year stuff that they put out there tonight on the podium.
Yeah, it was a funny moment.
Must watch, and it's the very end of the video. So go there, hear what Darius had to say about it, hear what Evan Mobley had to say about it after Darius egged him on to talk himself up. You don't want to miss that. It's really good stuff.
Yeah, that was good. I thought Kenny's conversation on just like clinching this spot and going home and celebrating was good. There was a lot of good stuff said tonight. So be sure to check out all those videos. Ty Jerome, Jared Allen, Darius, and Evan, who spoke together. And then, of course, Kenny Atkinson. All that available to you, plus more content like this at the Cleveland Cavaliers and SI YouTube channel. Make sure to stick around over there because we'll drop a new episode of the podcast tomorrow. We'll go live with it as well, probably in the afternoon at some point. So you'll be able to find that and access that over there. And, of course, head on over to Cleveland Cavaliers and SI, or really the website URL is si.com/NBA/Cavaliers for any of our written content. Like I said, I got a couple stories up there tonight, but also tomorrow going to drop a story about Darius Garland, and his shooting woes and how tonight might have been a step in the right direction to him sort of snapping out of this and what he had to say about his performance tonight. So a lot of good content for you, and there's plenty more to come. we know that the playoffs are on the horizon and the Cavaliers could be poised for a pretty long run. So whatever you do, keep on following along with all things Cleveland Cavaliers, the Cleveland Cavaliers on SI.